Well, it's over. A 5-0 defeat brings a fitting end to a pretty miserable 6 weeks at the very least, but probably you could say a season in the end. It's just turned out to be a bit of a nightmare for Norwich, isn't it? To be perfectly honest, they just wanted to get to the final whistle of today. It was an attempt at damage limitation, which has probably not been that successful in the end because it's been a 5-0 defeat. But you can't go too overboard with this one. You are playing Manchester City, you are playing some incredibly good players, and Kevin De Bruyne really showed that today. He was superb. 2 brilliant finishes, 1 beautiful assist for a Raheem Sterling goal as well. But we don't really need to go over the facts of the game too much in this situation, I don't think, because it's 5-0 defeat is not remotely surprising. It just thankfully brings an end to it all, puts that bookend on it. You can close the book and start writing a new one, hopefully more successful, hopefully a bit more like 2018-19 than 2019-20, because they've ended up setting a Premier League record today of just 7 away goals. That's never been managed by a team in the Premier League before. It's a club record low. We already knew that. In the top flight, the Norwich team has never had 21 points as they finish. It extends the club record losing streak to 10 league games, blah, blah, blah. You don't need me to go through all the lows and why this is such a miserable situation, really. We kind of know it because we've been talking about it for weeks, haven't we? And now it's about turning the page and starting to look forward, starting to work out whether it's possible to survive this real low. They're in a horrible rut and come back and be resurgent in the Championship, whether it's possible to come back with a promotion straight away, because we all know the overall, if you take the pain out of this situation, before you even get into the fact that this has been behind closed doors and that you guys, the fans, have not been able to watch these games, it's not felt like real football. We've talked about that at length as well during this 6 weeks and the 3 months or so, or whatever it was, of lockdown before that. So yeah, the situation is whether they can bounce straight back, and then we'll have that little bit more financial muscle to try and compete at this level, and I hope that things don't work out quite so badly. But I almost feel like the P word, promotion, should be banned until sort of Christmas or something next season, because we all know how difficult the Championship is, and there's just no point getting carried away, even if you do start off early. Alex Neil's team were top of the league, Neil Adams' team were top of the league after relegation, so Daniel Farke has got a serious job on his hands here. So Stuart Webber, he's already a busy man, already signing players. Czemek Płacheta and Jakob Sorensen both already through the door. We expect more to be confirmed. The club will continue trying to turn attentions. In the end today, you saw 2 young lads getting debuts in injury time when it was already 5-0. Jordan Thomas, Akin Famuyiwa both came on. Just before that, or just before Kevin De Bruyne made it 5th, actually, when he smashed one in off the far post. Josh Martin had missed a really good chance, actually. Todd Cantwell, just before he came off, a sort of lung-busting run down the right. He really tried hard to create something there, and Martin really should have been scoring, but I guess the big moment got to him, and he must have been gutted. And if he had scored that, then that would have actually just equalled that Premier League record rather than Norwich claiming it outright. So it would have been a helpful goal as well. But then literally De Bruyne goes up the other end and puts the cherry on top for City, who now have a tie against Real Madrid to worry about next month. But it felt like we were going to get a positive at the start of this, at least. Onel Hernandez, denied by VAR correctly from the replays that I've seen, was just offside. But at 8th minute, Stiepermann does well, chests the ball, shows that little bit of control that we saw a lot of last season when he was holding up the ball in attack. Sends Hernandez through, cuts inside Kyle Walker quite easily, and then the shot beats Edison quite easily as well. I think the keeper would have got a bit of flack for that one. Basically put it bottom left corner from about 20 yards, right-footed shot, and Onel was, lively at points going forward, but defensively Norwich were lambs to the slaughter, really. It was far too easy, and that's no surprise. This is Manchester City. Teams can lose heavily to the big boys and still survive. We saw that in 20 11-12 under Lambert and 2012-13 under Houghton, that there were big defeats along the way in those seasons, but they survived in mid-table. So, losing 5-0 to Man City is not a massive deal. They're in a different stratosphere. The amount of money that those players are worth, that Sterling, De Bruyne, Gabriel Jesus, Ederson, Laporte, they are a serious team, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see them go and win the Champions League this year, just to stick it to UEFA for all that fuss with their ban that then wasn't a ban. But enough about them. For Norwich, it's about building from this point and somehow shaking off what is going to be an almighty relegation hangover, because I think most fans for weeks have already accepted this fate, and it's just been, it's been like death by a thousand cuts, just waiting for it to be confirmed. And now it finally is confirmed, we can stop having to go over it over and over again. I mean, it must have been very difficult for the players and all the staff just to keep going in this circumstance. But you obviously can't just not turn up for games. You have got to keep going. Relegated with 3 to go and out of their depth, frankly. And then when you throw in all the injuries and suspensions that were there today, it's no surprise that there were 2 goalkeepers on the bench. Archie Mayer, who is going out on loan to Kings Lynn, but he was on the bench here today alongside Michael McGovern. And Buendia, Dermich both suspended, Closer, Hanley, Byram, Leitner, Tetty all out with injury. You can't beat Manchester City twice in a season with horrendous injury problems. Beating them once was, a lightning bolt. Really, it was a miraculous day, and unfortunately will go down as the game that we'll all remember from this season, really, won't it? That's the one thing that we'll all talk about. Oh, it was terrible, but remember when they beat Manchester City? And yeah, hold on to those memories, because that was just as the injuries were really warming up. Zimmerman had just got injured again, Closer as well. Hanley hadn't admitted defeat at that point, but it did start to fall apart pretty quickly after that. The defeat at Burnley, the 5-1 to Villa. I think this is the biggest defeat of the Daniel Farke era actually today, 5-0. And I did see somewhere that it's the heaviest defeat since the 5-0 defeat at Brighton under Alex Neil in 2016. So yeah, not a great day if you just look at it on this result and this situation. But in reality, I think most fans will feel a little bit relieved. I've got to admit, I feel a little bit relieved having. Of course, it's a privilege to have covered these games and be able to be in the stadiums, but it's so strange being in this situation where it's an empty stadium covered in banners, and you can hear everything going on. You can hear the substitutes chatting to each other. You can hear the shouts from the players, which is interesting to a point, but ultimately you want the atmosphere of a football match, because that's what makes for special days like that Manchester City home game. Just to close on, really, I suppose the most forward-looking thing as things stand is Teemu Pukki's situation. He missed a massive opportunity to equalise in the first half, put through by Lucas Rupp, I think it was, taking advantage of some sloppy play from Man City on halfway. He were totally dominant. They had, I think it was 75% by the time the game ended, but it was 80% at one point during the game. And it was clean through, just had Ederson to beat, and just as he was approaching goal, you never got the feeling he was going to put it away, and he never really had it under control, and Ederson spread himself on the edge of the box and saved, and then Cantwell managed to sort of chip onto the roof of the net, and the chance was gone. But that had to be a goal. A Teemu Pukki of last season, or even the first half of this season, with the confidence that he had flowing through him for Norwich and Finland, that's meat and drink for him, and he never really looked like scoring it. And that's now, he finishes the season 21 matches without a goal in open play. He scored 2 penalties against Tottenham and Bournemouth, but since the 1-1 draw at Leicester in December, he's not scored in open play. And when you think about the brilliant goal scoring stats that he had up to that point, 36 in 56 for club and country last season, and he was already on 9 goals in the Premier League by December, you have to feel sorry for the guy, because it's horrible when you see a striker completely lose his confidence, and that is what has happened. But Daniel Farke was asked about the links to Besiktas, which have come out over the weekend, and basically, it's not Daniel's place to talk about transfers too much, but he said that he's fairly confident that Teemu will establish himself in the Championship next season, and that he sees him as an important part of the squad next year. So I'm going to leave it there before the wind blows my phone over, because the wind's really picked up out here. But that brings a close to a very strange season, punctured by 3 months for a global pandemic, back behind closed doors, which has not been an enjoyable experience. Roll on, Norwich finding their feet in the Championship, making a fresh start, seeing some new faces, maybe a few people being moved on that perhaps their concentration hasn't been as full as Daniel Farke would have liked and fans would have liked at times. There are players in that squad who will see themselves as having a Premier League future and not necessarily wanting to go back into the Championship. But we got well, not a long time. We've got a few weeks to discuss all that, and things are going to keep moving quite quickly. With the transfer window open until October the 14th. So that's going to be quite a strange dynamic to it all as well. That the season will probably be well underway, and I know there's been some fans at some cricket friendlies today in England, and we've seen a few overseas games where fans are back in, but I think we can be pretty certain that fans won't be back in fully at the start of next season. But who knows, maybe by the time the transfer window's closed, there will at least be some supporters at a Carrow Road game. What the Norwich City team will look like by that point is anyone's guess right now. But let's bring it to a close. Premier League season 2019-20, almost a year after it started, very nearly a year after we were all at Anfield for that 4-1 defeat at Liverpool. It's over. Norwich have finished 20th, they're relegated, and they've got a massive rebuilding job on their hands. Thank you very much for watching all the video verdicts during this elongated season. Let us know what you thought in the comments below, and if you're not already subscribed to the Pinkun YouTube channel, please do. We'll have plenty more video content for you ahead of the start of next season and throughout as well.